Among the ranks of cellular bandits is a group of sophisticated high-tech thieves, drug traffickers and money launderers who use cellular phones to facilitate the distribution of narcotics and the laundering of drug money. Rosanna, could you describe for us a typical scenario of how sophisticated high-tech thieves employ cellular phones as tools of the trade?
Well, if for a minute you consider really what the nature of the narcotics criminal is all about, it makes perfectly good sense why the narcotics world is a fertile ground for cell phone fraud. The narcotics criminal in the 1990s is an enterprise-driven businessman. He's got big bucks, he's got lots of drugs, and he has a very large, stratified, complex operation to run. And just as you would expect any CEO of a Fortune 500 company to have a cell phone and a pager and 24-hour access to the deals and the players who he has to deal with, that is the lifeblood of the narcotics kingpin. The nature of narcotics in the 1990s necessitates that they use cellular phones. And what is so beautiful about cellular phone fraud for these criminals is that they have stolen these phones, in terms of the counterfeit cloning, from a victim who doesn't even know that he or she has been a victim. And if the victim doesn't know that their phone is gone, then sure as shooting law enforcement doesn't, and he or she can speak on that phone quite freely.
Wow. Well, what measures have the Manhattan District Attorney's Office taken to effectively combat this cellular fraud problem?
Well, because a number of the cases we do in the organized crime unit are enterprise-driven cases, we have identified the clones, we have educated our law enforcement people on how to identify them, how to use them, how to track them, and ultimately how to execute search warrants looking for the earmarks of the cellular phone fraud. The cloner is the 1990s racketeer. There is no legitimate reason at all for a clone phone to be used or to be made. These racketeers are service providers to the illicit industry of narcotics. They have to be stopped.
Wow. Thank you, Rosanna, for speaking with us today.
You're welcome.
And now, joining me on Smooth Operator is John Sabini, a New York City Council member representing portions of Queens whose Jackson Heights community has been hit heavily by these cellular bandits. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Jerry.
Nice to see you. How have New York City residents been affected by these call cell scams?
Well, the people that run these scams are traditionally involved in lots of other businesses of a nefarious nature, whether it be money laundering or narcotics and the like. So that their presence in the community tends to breed other problems. They're not just involved in one thing, or they bring people with them who are involved in some pretty awful things for a residential community like the one I represent. So that we've been faced with this activity going on, along with narcotics distribution, money laundering, and this has been almost as lucrative as those businesses.
Well, I can imagine somebody walking up to me and saying, I could call Portugal or Venezuela or something for $10 and talk as long as I wanted to. That sounds it's a very tempting offer.
It's an attractive offer, and indeed many of the people who use these call cell scams really need to make the phone call, need it, they're working people, it's a good deal for them, but ultimately someone pays, and that's the consumer. And also the community is hurt by the fact that we have this kind of sort of racketeering going on.
Why is it so prevalent in your particular area?
For a lot of reasons, one of which is that we have a lot of recent arrival immigrants into the neighborhood. They want to call home, they're working people, they have family back in other countries. Also, we're right near the airports in New York City, and LaGuardia Airport, for example, is the Fort Knox of phone frequencies in terms of theft. You can steal a lot from businessmen, and most of the times their accounts, they don't even check their accounts until long after the deed is done.
Well, what has your office been doing to assist in the fight against this cellular fraud?
We're trying to bring together a number of different resources, both from the prosecutorial level, the district attorney's offices, the state legislature that have to rule on all felony cases in New York State, and whatever the city can do as well to try and bring everyone together and try and combat this rather new crime. That's the problem. The technology changes so fast, it's hard to catch these guys.
And I think a lot of people don't really think of it as much of a crime, you know, because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect, they don't think it affects them, but it affects everybody.
First of all, someone pays. Second of all, the people that are involved in it are often doing other things that aren't particularly good for any neighborhood.
Right.
So that we're concerned about it, and we want to make sure that if a crime's being done, that the perpetrators get caught and punished, no matter how sophisticated it is, no matter the fact that there's not really any contraband, it's still wrong, and it should be snuffed out.
Well, I hope the technology can keep up with all of these new developments. Thanks a lot, John, for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Back with us once again to describe our second reenactment, Susan Miller.
Our second reenactment reveals how New York State Police employ state-of-the-art technology to locate, infiltrate, and arrest persons involved in cellular call cell operations. Once again, Don Delaney will give the law enforcement consequences of these acts.
Hola, I talked to you about phone calls?
Sí.
Muy bien. I gotta make a call to Venezuela. Quick call.
$10, 20 minutes. Good?
Está bien, está bien.
Good. Get in the car. You got the number?
Seguro.
All right.
Vámonos.
Momentito. 20 minutes.
Hola. Mira, te digo, I told you once, okay?
Okay, guys, what we're going to do now is Billy's going to be going down to try to buy a call from that car in the corner. Once he's into the vehicle, we're going to try to monitor that call using the electronic equipment here. Once we've determined that the call is from a cloned phone and the undercover gets out of the vehicle, he's going to pay for the call. He'll use the $10 bill that we initialed before we went down the block. And you'll secure that $10 bill from the person, you'll place him under arrest, advise him what he's being arrested for, and then give him his Miranda rights. Then we'll bring him back to the van, secure him, take him back down to the station to process him. We'll come back and do another one right after that.
Got it. All right, look, let's give it 20 seconds and then let's get this guy, all right? Because it's starting to rain.
Just stand by, continue to make the call, and Eddie advises me now that it is a cloned phone. He's got the information back from the cell company. So after you go about another minute or two, get out of the vehicle, make sure you give him the $10 bill that we initialed before, and after he takes the money, we'll roll down the hill and pick him up. Thanks. Good work. Hello again. For possession and use of a counter-cellular telephone, criminals can go to jail for up to 4 years. Now that law enforcement has the technology, ability, and equipment to detect and arrest those involved in cellular phone fraud, law enforcement is increasing its effort in arresting those responsible. If you know of someone in your area that's involved in cellular telephone fraud, please contact your local police department.
Joining us now is Don Delaney, a senior investigator for the New York State Police. Welcome, Don.
Thank you very much,
Good
Jerry.
to see you. I understand the New York State Police is working with the cellular industry to combat fraud. Now, can you describe how this cooperative fight against high-tech criminals is carried out?
Well, for about 3 years now, we've been receiving information from the cellular industry, from the citizens of the communities, from councilmen, regarding high-tech fraud in their areas as they become aware of it. Specifically with cellular fraud, the cellular companies will provide us information as to areas where there is high fraud.